Beijing condemns Myanmar border clashes that caused Chinese casualties. Armed conflict has raged in Myanmar's northern Shan state since October, when an alliance of ethnic minority groups launched an offensive against the military junta. Beijing on Thursday voiced strong dissatisfaction that fighting in neighboring Myanmar had caused Chinese casualties and said it would take all necessary measures to protect its citizens, following reports an artillery shell had exploded across the border. Armed conflict has raged in Myanmar's northern Shan state since October, when an alliance of ethnic minority groups launched an offensive against the military junta. Several Chinese media outlets reported on Wednesday that an artillery shell from Myanmar had fallen across the border in the town of Nansan in China's Yunnan province, where it exploded and caused injuries to multiple people. AFP was not able to independently verify the reports or accompanying images posted on social media. Asked about the reports at a regular press briefing on Thursday, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said China expresses strong dissatisfaction that the armed conflict has caused Chinese casualties, adding that Beijing had made solemn representations to the relevant parties. China once again demands that all parties in the northern Myanmar conflict immediately cease hostilities and take practical measures to prevent further pernicious incidents that endanger peace and tranquility on the border, Wang said. China will take all necessary measures to safeguard the security of its citizens' lives and property, he said. Wang did not specify how many people had been killed or wounded in the incident. The ethnic alliance has seized several towns and border hubs vital for trade with China, in what analysts say is the biggest military challenge to the junta since it seized power in 2021. Last month, Beijing said it had mediated talks between the Myanmar military and the allied ethnic armed groups and reached an agreement for a temporary ceasefire. However, clashes have continued in parts of Shan state, and China's embassy last week asked its citizens to evacuate an area along the shared border owing to security risks. These events have triggered a strong response from Beijing, voicing strong dissatisfaction and promising to protect its citizens. But how will they do this? And what are the potential implications for the already tense situation in Myanmar and the region? Let's delve into that in the next scene. China's reaction to the unrest in Myanmar has been significant. In the face of escalating violence, Beijing voiced strong dissatisfaction that the fighting had spilled over into its territory, resulting in Chinese casualties. This expression of dissatisfaction is not to be taken lightly, as it carries a significant weight in diplomatic language. China is not a country known for making public displays of displeasure, especially when it comes to its immediate neighbors. Thus, this statement shows the gravity of the situation and the effect it has on China's national security and its citizens' welfare. Reports emerged of an artillery shell exploding across the border in Chinese territory. These reports, coupled with Beijing's expressed dissatisfaction, highlight the volatility of the situation and the potential for broader regional implications. In response to the cross-border violence, China has vowed to take all necessary measures to protect its citizens. This is a substantial promise, one that reflects Beijing's commitment to ensuring the safety of its people, even if it means stepping into a deeply complex and volatile situation. While the specifics of these necessary measures are yet to be revealed, they could range from diplomatic pressure to more direct involvement. However, any speculation should be tempered by the reality that China is known for its strategic and calculated approach to international relations. China's response to the crisis in Myanmar has not only geopolitical implications, but it also reveals much about its stance on the crisis. As a regional power with significant influence, China's actions and reactions can significantly shape the course of events. Therefore, its response to the unrest in Myanmar is a critical aspect of this evolving narrative. The situation in Myanmar puts China in a delicate diplomatic position. To fully grasp the complexity of this dance, let's take a step back and review China's relationship with Myanmar. China has traditionally maintained a close relationship with its southern neighbor, largely driven by economic interests. It has invested heavily in Myanmar's infrastructure, from roads and bridges to power plants and pipelines, making it a key player in the country's development. But the relationship extends beyond economics, as China has also played a significant role in Myanmar's peace process with ethnic armed groups. This involvement is part of China's attempt to secure its border regions and ensure stability for its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. However, the recent turmoil has cast a shadow on this relationship. Allegations have surfaced that China supported the military coup, a claim that Beijing vehemently denies. These accusations have fueled suspicion and resentment among anti-coup protesters who see China as complicit in the military's power grab. This has led to a surge in anti-Chinese sentiment, with Chinese-funded factories even becoming targets of arson attacks. On the international stage, China has been walking a tightrope, trying to balance its strategic interests in Myanmar with its global reputation. It has avoided condemning the military coup, instead calling for dialogue and reconciliation. However, this stance has drawn criticism from the international community, who demand a stronger response. In this intricate diplomatic dance, China is constantly adjusting its steps, carefully balancing its long-standing relationship with Myanmar, its economic interests, and its international image. It's a delicate dance indeed, where one misstep could have far-reaching implications. This intricate diplomatic dance showcases how China is balancing its interests in the region. The conflict in Myanmar doesn't only affect its immediate neighbors. This unrest creates ripples that extend far beyond its borders, impacting the wider region and the international community at large. Consider the human rights situation. The reports of security forces opening fire on unarmed protesters, the detention of journalists and protest organizers, the application of martial law, all these actions have drawn the international spotlight on Myanmar. Reports of such abuses have stirred global condemnation, with the United Nations Human Rights Office warning that the military crackdown could escalate into a full-blown civil war. And then there's the potential refugee crisis. As the situation in Myanmar deteriorates, the number of people fleeing the violence could increase, placing a strain on neighboring countries and potentially leading to a regional humanitarian crisis. This is not just a problem for Myanmar's neighbors, it's a global issue that requires a coordinated international response. However, despite international condemnation of the military crackdown, concrete action has been stalled due to diplomatic disagreements. Some countries, for instance, are hesitant to impose sanctions due to their economic ties with Myanmar, while others argue for a more forceful response. These divergent views have hindered the international community's ability to take unified action against the military government. This lack of consensus underscores the complex and interconnected nature of global politics. What happens in one country can have far-reaching implications, affecting geopolitical dynamics, international relations, and global stability. Thus, the turmoil in Myanmar serves as a stark reminder of how conflict in one country can have far-reaching impact, affecting neighbors and the global community alike.